You pick up your phone to kill 10 minutes, and you put it down feeling like you've wasted your whole life. Nothing actually happened in those 10 minutes. You just watched a stickman flash a trophy, a stickman flex a six-pack, and a stickman hold the keys to a car you'll never own. And somehow you walked away convinced you are years behind. Here's the strange part. The feeling is real, but the math behind it is broken. You compared your messy behind-the-scenes life to everyone else's edited highlight reel. In that contest, you lose every single time. Today, we're going to break down exactly why your brain does this, why the feeds make it worse, and how to stop measuring yourself against a fantasy. Let's start with the part of you that's been doing this since long before phones existed. Back in 1954, a psychologist named Leon Festinger noticed something simple about people. When there's no ruler to measure ourselves with, we use other people as the ruler instead. Picture Stan holding a blank report card with no grades on it. He has no idea if he's doing well or badly until he peeks at the stickman next to him. How fit am I? Well, compared to who? How much money is enough? Enough compared to who? Festinger called this social comparison, and it's not a flaw, it's a feature. For most of human history, it actually worked pretty well. Stan lived in a small village of maybe 150 other stickmen. He compared himself to the hunter next door and the farmer down the path. These were real people he saw every day, on their good days and their bad days. He saw the farmer's crops fail, and he saw the hunter come home empty-handed. The comparison was honest because he had the whole picture. Now look at the picture you're working with today. You're not comparing yourself to 150 neighbors anymore. You're comparing yourself to a few thousand strangers a day, handpicked because they're winning at something. Psychologists split this comparison into two directions. Looking at someone doing worse than you is called downward comparison. Looking at someone doing better than you is called upward comparison. Picture Stan on a staircase. Look down the stairs, and you feel pretty good about yourself. Look up the stairs, and the steps suddenly stretch into the clouds. Here's the catch with your feed. It is built almost entirely out of upward steps. You almost never scroll past someone having a worse week than you. You scroll past the wedding, the promotion, the beach, the new apartment, on and on. It's a staircase that only ever points up, with no top in sight. Now, upward comparison isn't automatically bad. Researchers find it can actually push you to do better, but only under one condition. You have to believe the thing you're looking at is realistically reachable for you. If a stickman one step ahead of you learns to juggle, you think, I could learn that too. That's the inspiring kind, and it lights a small fire under you. But if the gap looks impossible, the same comparison does the opposite. Instead of a fire, you get a flat tire. Picture Stan watching a stickman casually fly past on a private jet. He doesn't think, I could do that, he just slumps into a puddle on the floor. The feed is very good at showing you gaps that feel impossible to close. So the same wiring that helped your ancestors improve now mostly just flattens you. But the direction of the comparison is only half the problem. The bigger issue is what you're actually comparing against. You are not comparing yourself to other people's lives. You are comparing yourself to other people's edits. Imagine a stickman walking a red carpet, holding up a giant golden trophy, beaming. That's the post you see. Now imagine the camera pulls back just a little. Behind him is a pile of 46 crumpled photos he deleted before this one. There's a clapperboard on the floor that says, take 47. There's a ring light, a mess of cables, and a second stickman crying just off to the side. You never see any of that because that's the whole point of the edit. Every single person on your feed is doing this, including the ones who look effortless. Especially the ones who look effortless. Think about your own camera roll for a second. You take 20 photos and post the one good one. You don't post the breakup, the rejection email, or the night you ate cereal over the sink at midnight. Picture Stan with a small phone, posting a shiny photo of a salad. Just out of frame, his room is a mountain of laundry and old pizza boxes. You know your own hidden mess perfectly, because you live in it. You know everyone else's hidden mess not at all because they hide it just like you do. So you stack your full, unedited inside against their trimmed, polished outside. It's like judging your rough first draft against everyone else's published book. And there is real science on just how wrong this makes us. In 2011, a team of researchers ran a set of studies on this exact blind spot. They gave their paper a blunt title, Misery Has More Company Than People Think. They asked people to guess how often their peers felt sad, lonely, stressed, or low. Across the board, people guessed way too low. We badly underestimate how much everyone around us is also struggling. And the reason is almost painfully simple. We only ever see other people in public, where they're putting their good face on. Picture a row of stickmen at a party, all grinning, all holding drinks. You see this version, and you assume that's their whole life. What you don't see is each of them later, alone at home, staring at the ceiling. The crying happens in private, the smiling happens in public. So your sample of other people is wildly tilted toward happy. And the feed takes that tilt and cranks it up to 100, because a feed is the most public stage that has ever existed. It's a place where literally nobody posts the ceiling staring. And here's the part of that study that should actually change how you think. The people who underestimated everyone else's struggles the most were the loneliest of all. They ruminated more, and they were less satisfied with their own lives. In other words, believing everyone else is fine is what makes you feel so alone. You think you're the only stickman falling behind in a stadium full of winners, when mean, really, half the stadium is quietly thinking the exact same thing about you. Now let's talk about how this turns into that specific feeling of being permanently behind. Behind implies there's a schedule, a correct timeline you were supposed to hit. Car by this age, house by that age, partner by another, all stamped on an invisible clock. Picture Stan running on a track with a giant ticking clock bolted to his back. But notice where that timeline actually came from. You didn't sit down and choose it. You assembled it piece by piece out of the highlight reels you scrolled past. You took the youngest person who bought a house, the youngest who got fit, the youngest who got rich, and you quietly fused all of them into one impossible stick man. Then you set that Frankenstein creature as the bar you're failing to clear. No single human being has actually hit all those marks at once. You built a champion out of spare parts from 1,000 different people, and then you got mad at yourself for being only one person. This is where the feeling does its worst damage, while you're trying to make progress. Picture Stan in a foot race, sprinting hard down his own lane. He's actually moving, actually getting faster, actually doing fine, but his head is cranked sideways, locked onto the runner in the next lane. He's so busy watching them that he stops watching his own feet, and then he trips over absolutely nothing and eats the track face first. That's what comparison does to a person who's already on the right path. It doesn't just make you sad, it actually slows you down. You stop running your race because you're too busy watching everyone else run theirs. And the runner you're staring at might be on a completely different track anyway. Different start line, different distance, different shoes, in a race you never agreed to enter. There's one more piece, and it's the engine under all of it. The feed is not a neutral window into the world. It's a machine built to hold your eyes for as long as possible. The longer you stare, the more money it makes. Full stop. And it turns out that envy is incredibly good at holding your eyes. A little sting of, why not me, keeps you scrolling for the next hit. So the system quietly learns to feed you the posts that make you feel a step behind. Picture a slot machine, but every win belongs to some other stickman. You keep pulling the lever, hoping the next pull finally makes you feel okay. It never does, because feeling okay is bad for business. This is also why simply scrolling more never fixes the feeling. Researchers separate active use from passive use, and the difference matters a lot. Active use means actually talking to people, messaging a friend, joining in. Passive use means silently scrolling and watching other people's lives go by. It's the passive, silent scrolling that most reliably feeds envy and that sinking feeling. Picture Stan as a couch potato, eyes glazed, thumb moving on its own for an hour. He hasn't connected with a single person. He's just absorbed 200 reasons to feel small. And when researchers pool together study after study, the pattern is consistent. Heavier problematic social media use lines up with more anxiety, more stress, and more depression. It's not destiny, and it's not the same for everyone, but the link is real and it shows up again and again. So that hollow feeling after a scroll session isn't you being weak. It's the predictable result of a machine doing exactly what it was built to do. Okay, enough about the problem. Let's talk about what actually helps. The goal isn't to never compare yourself again, because honestly, you can't. That wiring is too old and too deep to switch off. The goal is to point the comparison at a target that can't lie to you, and there's a healthier kind of comparison that researchers actually recommend. Instead of comparing yourself to other people, compare yourself to your own past self. This is called temporal comparison, and the studies are pretty clear on it. Measuring yourself against past, you supports real improvement without the poison of envy. Picture two stickmen standing side by side. One is you today, the other, slightly fainter, is you from a year ago. That's the only race that's actually fair, because both runners started from the same place. Last year's Stan couldn't run a mile, this year's Stan just did 3. That's a real win, and no stranger on a feed can take it from you. So here are a few grounded ways to actually do this. First, keep some kind of record of where you started. Picture Stan taking a single photo and dropping it in a box marked Day 1. A before photo, an old journal page, the weight you used to lift, the savings you used to have. Memory is a liar that quietly erases your progress, so write it down where you can't argue with it. When you feel behind, don't look sideways at strangers. Look back at your own Day 1. Second, get honest about what you're really seeing on the feed. Every time a post makes you feel small, picture the hidden take 47 behind it. Picture the cropped out mess, the retakes, the bad days they chose not to show you. You're not seeing their life, you're seeing their trailer cut to make you keep watching. Third, notice the difference between scrolling and connecting. If you're going to be on there, actually talk to someone instead of silently watching. Send the message, leave the comment, make the plan, turn the passive watching into a real conversation. Picture Stan putting down the slot machine phone and walking over to talk to an actual friend. And fourth, remember that misery really does have more company than you think. The confident stickman you envy has a ceiling he stares at too when nobody's watching. You are comparing your loud, obvious struggles to everyone else's silent, hidden ones. Once you see that, the whole race starts to look a little ridiculous. There is no secret schedule, and there is no stickman who has it all figured out. There's just you, your own lane, and a faint version of yourself from last year to chase. There's an old image that sums this whole thing up perfectly. A duck gliding across a pond looks calm, smooth, effortless on the surface. Under the water, its little feet are paddling like mad just to stay afloat. Picture a stickman duck, serene up top, legs a frantic blur below the waterline. Every confident person on your feed is paddling under the surface too. You only ever get to see the gliding, never the paddling. And remember, the person you're comparing yourself to is probably comparing themselves to someone else. Picture a long line of stickmen, each one staring enviously at the back of the next. Every single one of them feels behind the one in front. It's a line with no front, a race with no finish, and nobody is actually winning it. The only way to step out of that line is to stop measuring yourself by it. So next time the scroll leaves you feeling like a failure, remember what actually happened. You didn't fall behind in 10 minutes, you just got handed a stack of highlight reels and told it was the truth. Put the phone down, look at your own day one, and run your own race. If this made the feeling make a little more sense, you already know the drill. Give it a like, subscribe, and we'll keep untangling this stuff one stickman at a time.